Hey guys, what is up? AwesomeTheSauce here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and welcome to a video that needs to be made. As you guys may or may not know, especially if you've been keeping up on the KI lives, there's actually a new age of PvP that's coming. So this video is about the 3 big changes that I really think we absolutely need before PvP enters a new age. So let's get right into it. For my first point, we are going to be doing some mouth. Basically, the first thing that I really think needs to be enforced a lot more is boosting. Right now, if you look at the leaderboards, it's blatantly obvious to anybody with the damn brain that there are a lot of people boosting in PvP. Now, how do I know this? Well, it's pretty common sense, but let's take a look at some legit players and let's take a look at some non-legit players and let's compare their ratios. You see Alex right here. He has 842 wins to get 3,303 rank. Let's assume that on average, for every win, he gets 16 rank, and for every loss, he loses 16 rank. It's a very solid assumption because for the most part, I know Alex, I know he does mostly 1v1. So, he started at 500 rank. That means that he has gained approximately 2,800 rank. Now, if you divide that 2,803 rank that he's gotten, if you divide that number by 16, what you're looking at is 175 wins. What that means is that in order for him to have 175 net wins, he's had to win 842 times. That also means that he's lost 650 times. Now, for someone to have this much rank, it actually makes sense that they've played almost 1,500 games or more. I did the math out. Alex's win rate is 1.25, meaning that for every 4 matches he loses, he wins 5 matches. That's not a crazy win rate, given that. If you do the math out, that really is what that amounts to. Now let's look at, I randomly chose this, there's no beef or anything, but let's just take number 53 on this list, Wolf Legend Thief, alright? So, if you assume that he started at 500 rank like everybody, he's gained 1,959 rank. And if you assume that on average he gets 16 rank per win, then you're looking at 122 net wins. So, if you look at the number of wins that he has, and he has 122 net wins, well, that would mean, if you do the math out, do a little bit of subtracting, you know what I'm saying? You're looking at a record of 184 wins and 61 losses. Number 53 over here, for every 1 game that he loses, he wins 3 games. I don't think I know anybody who can legitimately do that, because that is not possible given the RNG in this game. I think the point I'm trying to make is, if we're going to be entering a new age, someone like Alex, that wins 5 games for every 4 that he loses, shouldn't only be 2 pages above somebody who clearly cheated for their rank. I don't think it's that hard for KingsIsle to see if someone's boosting, if they really do a proper investigation. Most people that boost aren't even in their matches for that long, because all it really requires is you have someone else that's around your rank, you use this glitch where neither of you lose rank, there is one in the game, which they have yet to patch, and then in a matter of like 5 to 10 seconds, the match is over, both of you have gained rank, and you're on your way. I'm sure there are ways for KingsIsle to tell if your character just literally hops in and out of an arena in 10 seconds. I'm not saying this needs to like result in a ban for a bunch of people who've done it. I'm just saying there needs to be a new standard in 5th Age so that it's not done anymore. Either patch the glitch, or if someone's abusing it, then make sure that they know that there's like actual repercussions for it. I honestly don't really care what people do to get their rank in this game, especially if they're cheating for it, because I think it's such a waste of time. But at the end of the day, I want rank to have some kind of credibility in this game, so that people who are new to the game see a high-ranked match, and they're not just seeing a bunch of people who didn't earn it, they're seeing people that they can learn from. But let's move on to the next point. I think the next real big change that needs to be involved in 5th Age, and again, I'm not really sure if there's a precedent in terms of like the coding to make this happen, but I really believe it needs to happen. There needs to be a resist cap, and I know that's like, I don't know why that's such like an off-the-table kind of thing. If you're on the receiving end of someone with 140 resist to you in PvP, you already agree with me. If you've experienced it even once, I'm sure you agree with me. Now, this is a very big problem right now, especially when it comes to max PvP, because when you have like 1,500 rank at max PvP, someone else in the arena who's watching you do matches around your rank will almost be guaranteed to get you. Because right now, the way matchmaking works is that it's not going to put you up against someone with 1100 rank or 1000 rank, where a bunch of people are, before it puts you against that 1500 rank person. Another reason why I say this is because resist is getting a little out of control. Like, let's just take my ice, right? Let's take a ward pet on my ice. Now, in this example specifically, what we're looking at is a double resist, balance ward, ice ward, fireproof pet, right? It only has 1 damage talent. And yeah, with 1 damage talent, if you look at it, I have 82 resist to ice and balance. And honestly, most people don't even go balance ward. They put in an extra fireproof. So most ice wizards, if they really wanted to be super in the meta, they could be running close to 120 damage with 92 resist to fire, and they don't give up any of the other stats that you see on the screen. Me personally, I think anywhere around 85 to 90 should be as high as resist is allowed to go, and that's mainly because if you're a fire or an ice, one of the big problems right now is that a lot of people want fire and ice nerfed, but it's not going to be good if everyone has like 100 resist setups to them after they get nerfed. They're going to go extinct in PvP. So the problem is, when you create one issue, you can't just not fix the other part of the issue. If you remove the damage output of fire, as a lot of people want, you can't just keep resist creeping up high. You gotta balance it too, and I think a resist cap is one of the only elegant ways to do it. And I really think they got to think about it, especially because some people are just toxic. They have quint resist pets. They walk into PvP with like 150 resist, and it's just an unfair matchup. You're not expected to win those. It's just an automatic loss. That should never be a matchup in Wiz. You should never go into a PvP match. Someone just happens to set for you, and you automatically lose no matter what moves you make, no matter how good you play. The final thing that absolutely needs to be changed before 5th Age drops is a complete redefinition of what it means to get a Shadow Pip in PvP. If you have 1 Shadow Pip and you Shrike, and then you're just spamming shadow hits because you happen to be getting them in Shrike, that isn't strategy. That's you getting very, very lucky. But the problem with Shadow Pips doesn't really stop there, and that's why I'm actually here to offer 2 different solutions to the Shadow Pip problem. I think one thing that you could do is keep Shadow Pips and every spell associated with them the exact same, but completely remove how random it is that you get them. So that idea relates more to your Shadow Pip bonus. So let's say you happen to have 5% Shadow Pip bonus. That could probably correspond with maybe getting a Shadow Pip every, I don't know, let's give a range of like 5 to 6 rounds. On the other hand, if someone had 10% Shadow Pip bonus, then they would be getting it every, I don't know, 3 to 4 rounds. If you associated this bonus stat with actual outcomes instead of just random chance, then I think people could make the argument for exactly when they're getting a Shadow Pip, and maybe they can time their strategies better. And if you capped it so that no matter how much Shadow Pip bonus you really had, that the most you can reduce the number of Shadow Pips you're getting is to like 3 rounds, then it's great, because if you're in Shrike with no Shadow Pips, you can safely say that you will not get another Shadow Pip within Shrike. The other solution, and I actually prefer this because what it'll do is that it won't really make PvP that different from PvE, is that in Shrike, you should basically just lock away Shadow Pips completely. That would mean that if you happened, right, if you happened to use Shrike and you had an extra Shadow Pip, then yeah, you could use like an Abominable or something. But if you have 1 Shadow Pip in your Shrike, there should be a 0% chance of you gaining Shadow Pips in that Shrike. The other solution, and I think this is a very, very good idea, is basically just disable critical on just Shadow Enhanced hit. Abominable, remove the crit on it. Climaclism, remove the crit on it. Glowbugs, remove the crit on it. Rusalka, remove the crit on it. Now, this is really, really important, and I honestly think this is one of the most underrated suggestions that I've ever heard, and if that could just be the takeaway from this video, I couldn't be happier. Critical adds 33% to your hits, and what that essentially does is that it makes schools like Ice a lot more powerful than they need to be. Your Shadow Enhanced hits are already doing a massive amount of damage. 33% on a Frostbite relates to maybe 100 or 200 extra on a base Frostbite. 33% extra on something like Abominable can amount to as much as 500 to 600. When you combine 500 to 600 extra damage with like a blade or a bubble or a trap, what you start seeing is that it's a multiplier that keeps on adding and becomes increasingly more broken as time passes on. This is an issue that you can see with fire even more. So let's say you have a standard setup at max fire, which involves normally over 160 damage, right? If you use something like an FFA and you happen to crit it, you're already starting off on base with 500 extra damage on the base. Now that extra 500, right, that's added onto this gets multiplied by 164 damage. Like it's multipliers that stack. And then when you start looking at the bubbles and the traps and everything else, what you're looking at is a crit amounting to thousands and thousands of extra damage, all on chance. I think crit is useful because it does add an extra element into the game, but when it adds thousands and thousands of extra damage, especially because of how random it really truthfully can be, what you start to think about is, why is it so dominant at max PvP? The meta for defensive schools like balance and death used to be to have a double block pet. Look at this, defender, blocker, double resist, double damage. This used to be a meta strategy because block used to be relevant. It used to cancel out critical in a way that you could almost always guarantee blocking if you invested in your stats like I did here. Now, block is like, the block talents add like 1 or 2%. Block doesn't really seem to be featured in any of the sets that much. Crit is clearly the favored stat over block. It shouldn't be like that at all. In the same way that you can give up resist for crit, you should be able to give up damage and or crit for block. That should be how the game goes. There's no trade-off that anybody can do to have high block in this game. And because of that, there's thousands and thousands of damage up for grabs that are completely dictated by chance instead of the players. So either make block relevant or make thousands and thousands of damage on shadow enhanced hits not on the table. I think that's gotta be a part of the solution here. In conclusion, y'all, when 5th Age comes out, I want rank to matter. I want matches to be less dictated by chance and the actual moves that players make. And I just really hope that they don't have matches where people are just running 150 resists because they happen to know the school of the person they're going against. Let me know what y'all's opinions of this video is. I'd love to hear y'all's opinions. What do you think needs to be done before 5th Age so that this is an actually good update that's coming? I hope it's a good update. I know y'all hope it's a good update. But yeah, that's the vid. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Leave a sub review. There's tons of links in the description, including my Twitch, my Twitter, my Discord, my Instagram, and my Patreon. Thank you for all the love on my Patreon. If somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong, so stay awesome. And yeah, yo.